In this video we'll be looking at how to calculate percentages of amounts. So we will be looking at 3 examples of varying difficulty, starting with the easiest and finishing on quite a hard example. So let's take a look at example number 1, 20% of 80. So the best way I like to do questions like this is I always start with saying 100% equals our original number 80 in this case. And I like to think of our percentage as a sum of building blocks. So building blocks that are easy to make are examples like 1%, 5%, 10%, and maybe 25% or 50%, because these can easily be calculated from the original 100%. So looking at these, to get to 20%, all we need are 2 lots of 10%. So that's what we're going to do. So if we start with 100% as 80, what do we do to get from 100% to 10%? Now, as some of you might be able to see, all we have to do is divide that by 10. And just like with fractions, whatever you do to the left-hand side, we must do to the right-hand side. So 80 divided by 10 is simply going to be 8. Okay, now that we know what 10% is, just like our building blocks, we just need 2 lots of that. So 20% is just going to be 2 lots of 8. So that's going to end with 16, and that's going to be our final answer. Okay, let's look at example number 2. And if you want to pause the video at any point and try and figure it out for yourself before I tell you the answer, please go ahead. But hopefully, if you want to, you've managed to give it a go. So 115% of 72. Now, just like before, remember 100% is the original number, 72. So all we really have to look at is the extra 15%. And we're just going to have to, at the end, add that on to our original 72, and that will give us our answer. So 15% can be made from 10% and 5%. So always bear this in mind and do this step before you even attempt the question. So 10% equals, and we know we're going to need a 5%, so it's easy just to do that first. Now, just like before, we had to divide by 10 to get from 100 to 10. And from 10 to 5, we just divide by 2. So again, that's exactly what we have to do on the right-hand side. So 72 divided by 10 is going to be 7.2. Now, sometimes you may get answers that are slightly more difficult, giving you decimal answers like this one. But again, if you have a calculator, it's obviously not a problem. And you will be familiar with these if you have to do them without a calculator. So 7.2 divided by 2 gives us 3.6. Now, just like before, all we need to make is 15%. So 15% is going to be 7.2, that 10%, added to that 5%. And again, with a bit of thinking, that is going to be 10.8. So 115%, which is what the question was asking, is going to be 10.8, which is that 15% we just worked out, added to our original 72, leaving us with 82.8, and that is going to be our final answer. Okay, now this will be most likely for our higher candidates. So this one is the most difficult out of the 3, I would say. But the methods we apply are still exactly the same. Now again, we take our 37%. There are a few ways you could make this, but to reduce the amount of adding and multiplying you have to do at the end, I recommend breaking it down into tens and ones if you need to. So in this, we have 3 lots of 10% and 7 lots of 1%. Now again, you could make this with, for example, 7 lots of 5% and then 2 1%. You could do 25%, 10% and 2%, so 2 ones. But in my opinion, this is the easiest one. So again, we write 100% equals 160. We know that 10% is going to be 16, as we simply divide by 10 just like before. And to get to 1%, we actually have to divide by 10 again after that. So that is going to leave us with 1.6. Now, Looking back at our building blocks, we're going to need 3 lots of the 10%, which is 3 lots of 16, which is 48. And 7 lots of the 1% will be 7 times by 1.6. Now we can do this just with column multiplication, so 16 times by 7, so 6 times 7 is 42, so we write 2 and carry the 4. 7 times 1 is 7, by adding that 4 we get 112, and then we put back in that decimal place, leaving us with 11.2. Finally, we can write out what our original 37% was, so that is simply going to be 48 plus that 11.2, leaving us with 59.2. And as you can see, all of those can be calculated without using a calculator. One little side note I'd like to add on the end is if you do have a calculator and you do get something like work out 47% of 366. Now you can see evidently this is quite a hard question, but your calculator will actually solve it for you. All you have to do is convert that percentage into a decimal. If you're not 100% sure on how to convert them, then I have made a video on percentage, decimals and fractions. But 47% would be 0.47, and you simply times that by the original number, and that will give you your percentage. So go ahead and find a calculator now, put that multiplication in, and it will give you 47% of the 366. And this will work with any answer. So if you have something over 100%, for example, 112% of 24, then you would just do 1.12 here, times by 24, and that will give you your answer as well. But I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much for watching.